All right, here we go. BG Knocc Out, welcome back.
What's up, Vlad? How you doing?
Yeah, man, we've been rocking out for some years now.
Yes, we have.
Always a pleasure.
Some good years too, man.
Yeah, always a pleasure when we sit down.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go ahead and get into it, man. A whole new set of protests are happening right now. A man got shot in the back 7 times.
Yeah.
And is actually paralyzed from the waist down, from what I understand.
It's tragic.
Yeah, it seems like as soon as things kind of calm down a little bit, a whole new incident pops up.
Yeah, man, it keeps happening, and it's like, what do you do, man? Like, what are you supposed to do when the shit happens so frequently? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, Vlad. I don't know what it's gonna take, but it's sad, man. It's like, it's sad to be a black man, to walk at your house and not know what's gonna happen to you on a daily basis, When you encounter the police and shit, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you've had bad situations with the police over the years.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you had someone get shot by the police?
Yeah, one of my childhood friends got killed by the police, actually.
Really?
Yeah. And they tried to charge my other homeboys with the murder, even though they killed them. We was juveniles too when it happened. This was like around 88, 89. Yeah.
Okay, so he got killed by the police, and then your other friend got charged for the murder.
2 of my other friends got charged for the murder. They tried to, yeah.
And how did it finally come up in terms of what really happened?
I just think when they went to trial, all the evidence came out and they couldn't charge him. And they had to let him go eventually. But initially they tried to charge them because from what the story was like they got pulled over somewhere. And you know how the police be telling everybody to put their hands up while they inside the car. And I believe my homeboy had a bracelet on, and the bracelet like flashed or something, like when his hands was up, and they just start shooting through the back window. So they shot one of my friends. They shot him in the neck. He didn't die. The other one they shot in the back of the head. He passed away, and the other 2 didn't get hit. It was like 4 people in the car.
Well, your 2 friends got off for the murder, but what happened to the cops who actually did the murder?
Nothing. Nothing. Same old story.
So they just walked away, and it was a justified shooting, and then that's that.
That's what they always do, They always claim they fear for their life, and that's some kind of carte blanche for them to just walk away, yeah. Usually, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, scary situation. I mean, did you feel like at a certain point in your life that when you leave your house that you might get killed by the police?
Every day. Like, it's a sad thing. We've been going through this for so long, man. Like, since I was a youngster, since I first encountered the police, every time they pull us over, it's always with aggression. It's not never on some, like how it would happen to you, for instance. You know what I mean? Like, just a conversation. Like, it's always like we're doing something wrong. They always make us feel like no matter what, it can be just a plain traffic violation. But it feels like, the way they make you feel is if you robbed a bank or some shit, like super nervous when they asking you questions, your voice shaking. As a young man, it's like, it's just sad, man. It's so sad. It's so tragic. And, what I believe it is that there's a real racist element within the police structure. You know what I mean? And I believe that when they encounter us, they don't really know how to deal with us. They always look at us as some type of threat for whatever reason. I don't know.
Well, recently there was also the Breonna Taylor situation.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Breonna Taylor. So the story around this was there was her boyfriend who was allegedly wanted, I guess, for drug dealing. The police had a no-knock warrant. So they just basically bust into the house and started shooting they ended up killing her.
Yeah, well, she was asleep. Like, they were asleep in bed. Man, that's crazy. That's so crazy. And it's so sad that they trying to sweep that under the rug. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that was a national headline. Like, and they still, you know, the cops are still free, haven't been charged with her murder. And they tried to get I've just read where they tried to get the boyfriend to, you know, plead to some type of charge that she was a part of a drug syndicate or some crazy stuff. Like,
Right.
that shit is crazy.
Right. What they're trying to do is they're telling him, because I guess he's facing like 10 years, that they're trying to say, look, say that she was part of your drug operation, which would make the murder justified, and we'll drop all the charges.
That's sad.
And that's a hell of a choice to make.
It really is, especially when you're
for someone, because think about it, like, nothing's gonna happen to her if the boyfriend says, yes, she was the kingpin of my drug operation. She's gone. So there's nothing that could be, there's no negative effects on her except for her reputation and her,
absolutely,
the way she's viewed. And he still has to live his life. And they're telling him that he might lose 10 years of his life by essentially lying on a dead person.
Right. And he should.
And it's such a dirty trick, though.
It's such a dirty trick, but that's what they do. You know, like, so sad, man. Like, even me as a youngster, man, I took all type of plea deals for the same types of reason that this guy's going through what he's going through, because, you know, it's you against the entire justice system, bro. Like, what do you do? What do you do? You know what I mean? But the fact that he has, you know, so much attention on him and her, I think he should fight that all the way. I wouldn't take no damn plea. And it would be wrong to do her like that, especially if she's really innocent, you know, to soil her name like after her death. That's not cool. Right,
because unlike, you know, you in your various situations, there is so much national attention on this story that he probably has free legal assistance from all the best lawyers.
Absolutely.
You know,
with what's going on right now. Yeah.
The Innocence Project, whoever, like, you know, he could do whatever it is. But when you look at a typical person from a low-income neighborhood
who doesn't have
it is you versus the United States of America.
Right.
On the other side of that courtroom are 4 top-notch lawyers.
Right.
Right? 4 world-class prosecutors who are trying to become a DA or trying to run for mayor or whatever else. And they may have to make sure that their track record is impeccable.
Absolutely.
You know, and they're going to do whatever it takes to either get a conviction or a plea deal. And on your end, you got this funky ass public defender, maybe some
who's working with them pretty much. You know, their office is in the same building in the courtroom. They work closely together. You know, they golf together. They party. Yeah.
Yeah, they go to the same restaurants, they go to the same bars, and they do deals. They're like, look, I'll have my client plead guilty to all the shit he didn't do, but you're gonna owe me on this big case I got coming up, right? You know, on this paid non-pro bono case that I'm actually getting $100,000, I need you to go easy on this.
Right. That's what they do, man. Like, you know, it's a sad thing. Like, this is what we've been dealing with since the beginning. You know what I mean? It's like, what do you do? You know what I mean? Like, what do you do? As a young black man in this country, you know, who's facing these types of things, like, what do you do? What's the answer? I don't know.
Well, in your particular case, how many plea deals have you taken total?
Shit. Man, I've been doing this since I was like 11, Vlad.
Roughly,
I'll say about 5 or 6, roughly.
All right, so let's say 5 plea deals to be conservative. Now, in full honesty, this is way past the statute of limitations and everything else like that. Out of those 5 that you pled guilty, because when you take a plea deal, that means I am pleading guilty. I am accepting.
Yeah, no contest. They tell you it's the same as guilty.
Same thing. No contest, plea deal. So, but you're saying in the eyes of the law, I am pleading guilty and I'm going to have a felony or a misdemeanor or whatever on my record. And I can't say later on, well, no, I didn't really do it, but whatever. On law, on papers, you have a felony or misdemeanor on your record. So out of the
Yeah.
5 that you pled guilty for, which of those 5 did you actually do?
I'll say 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other 2, you just did it because you didn't want to
Yeah, I didn't
take
really
the
have a
risk of
choice. Yeah. It was because,
going
you know,
trial.
I already had the felonies and you know, once you have a felony, when you do go to court, they make you look like a monster. You know, they hype that felony up so high, Vlad. Like they be like, he's a menace to society and all this type of shit. They actually say these words. And then, you know, it's just you in the courtroom. And sometimes you don't have family there. And they always look at that too. Like, okay, if his family's not here, nobody really gives a damn. So they don't have a problem with really throwing you away. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Crazy. Well, you know, I'd interviewed Turk from the Hot Boys.
Okay.
And he actually had a no-knock warrant on his house as well. The police busted his house with a no-knock warrant. He ended up shooting. He thought it was a home invasion or like a robbery.
Right.
He ended up shooting one of the cops
Mm.
in self-defense, or so he thought. And you know, he ended up going to prison for a whole bunch of years. But he actually described the whole situation of having police bust through your door in that manner.
That's when the SWAT team kicked in the door. You know, 2 police officers got shot. They shot literally 52 times, man, and I didn't get hit or grazed. My wife ain't get hit, you know, man, and the police, man, I found out they were the police. I never intended to shoot no police. You feel me? I thought we was being robbed.
Have you personally ever gone through a no-knock warrant?
No, never.
Okay. Friends that have gone through it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. My whole neighborhood, like, yeah, you know, like in LA, usually when a bunch of things happen and, you know, it's a bunch of unsolved crimes, robberies, whatever, they'll do what they call a sweep. And they'll sweep the entire neighborhood. You know what I mean? So, yeah, most of my friends have been through that.
I assume after the Tupac murder, there was a sweep?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. They sweep the shit out. I think the feds came that time. Like, well, that's a different type of sweep, you know? I think the feds and the police came at the same time when that happened, yeah.
Okay, so describe the sweep after the Tupac murder.
They just come, usually they come like 5 or 6 years in the morning and they hit everybody's house simultaneously, all at the same time, you know, and take y'all all down to the station and just get to drilling you. You know what I mean? Like trying to see who gonna roll over, who gonna say what, try to build their case.
Okay, and they do it simultaneously so someone can't call their friends and say, okay, I just got hit. Like,
yeah, it ain't gonna happen.
Huh. Okay.
Even if you don't live there, they like wherever they have an address on you, even if it's outside of the city, they'll have the cops in that area do the same thing. But it'll all happen simultaneously, yeah.
Huh. You know, remember in the NWA movie, they actually showed like a tank or a
oh yeah, that was the battle ram, yeah.
Battle ram, right. The battle ram. Was that a real thing?
That was a real thing, Vlad. They used to come, same type of deal, with that big ass tank with a metal plate on the front, right? Ram your fucking house, it'll ram inside your house, and then they'll back up and pull the whole fucking front wall of your house down. Your roof might cave in, you know what I'm saying? Like, which happens a lot. And they got away with that, Vlad, too. They never had to pay those people. A lot of times they went in the wrong house and did people like that with that fucking thing. Never paid them. You know what I'm saying? Like, the people couldn't get no recourse, man, like, for that shit. Like, seriously. They never paid for that. Never, ever. I don't know one case where the police had to pay people for fucking their house up like that.
I mean, at one point they stopped doing that, right? Because I don't think they have a battle ram anymore.
Yeah, after a while, it was like, it was so ridiculous because they did a lot of people's houses that didn't have nothing to do with anything. They had like the wrong intel, you know what I mean? Like, because back then, I think a lot of the people who was smoking crack, they was lying about a lot of shit because they might get caught with something and then they'll just make up something, you know what I mean? And so the police was going in people's house, like the wrong people's house a lot of times. And then it became such an outrage. It was like national headlines back then and they had to get rid of it altogether, yeah.
Have you ever actually seen a battle ram
I saw it
In-
as a kid.
in
I
progress.
never seen him running. No, I seen the aftermath of it. Because it happens early in the morning. Like what would I be doing up that early outside?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, but I seen the aftermath. I've been through the neighborhood and seen people's houses hanging halfway down and shit like that.
Yeah, you just can't do that in the social media era. Like imagine a bunch of kids with cell phones as they're destroying someone's house and the person coming out saying this is the wrong house. And then like that would be international headlines.
Absolutely. I mean, it did make headlines back in the day. And I believe that's why they had to get rid of it. We had Chief Daryl Gates as like the main sheriff back then. And he was just, a lot of people deemed him racist too. And it was just a lot going on. Yeah.
Well, just recently, I had Crunchy Black on my show, and we had this real dope, in-depth interview. Crunchy Black from 3 6 Mafia, and then a few days ago, we actually broke the news that his daughter got murdered.
Sorry to hear that,
in Memphis. Yeah, she was like 27 years old. Her and her boyfriend got shot to death in front of a motel. Yeah, me and Crunchy haven't talked since then. I had a number on him, but the number didn't work anymore. I talked to some of his kids. I talked to his other daughter. He has 2 daughters, and the rest are sons. And he's just going through it right now.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's sad, man. Like shit. Damn, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that shit, man. I mean, what is it related to? Have they said anything?
We don't know.
Don't know at all?
We don't know, man. There's a picture of them together.
Wherever you at, Crunchy, hold your head, man. I'm sorry about that. My condolences, That's suck.
It's a rough one when you have to bury your kid.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I don't think no parent wants to have to do, want to have to bury their own child, man. Like, that suck.
All right. Well, actually, as I'm talking to you, I looked it up, and a man has been arrested for the murder of both of them. They're saying it was in retaliation for a gang murder.
Wow. I hope it's not true. I hope it's not true, man. But that's them streets, Vlad. Like, the streets is wicked, bro. Like, if you out there, shit like that is bound to happen. Even if you're not a part of it, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, a lot of times, you know what I mean? Like, shit like that can happen too.
Yeah, so the person that was arrested for it was Lamont Murray. And after he was taken into custody, he told investigators that the shooting was a gang retaliation for a double homicide on August 14th. Why on earth would someone get arrested for a double murder and explain that it was a retaliation for a gang murder?
I don't know.
Would they say, "Oh, okay, well, that's justified then. You're free to go"?
Oh, never, nah.
I mean, what's
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what people be thinking. Like, I really don't. Like, I think the worst thing you can do is say anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially to them, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how often do you see, during all the things that you've witnessed over the years, because I'm assuming that Crunchy Black's daughter had nothing to do with it. She just happened to be with a guy, a boyfriend or whatever that was probably caught up in all this shit. I'm just assuming. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, more than likely, it's usually like that. Yeah.
I'm going to assume based on the situation. When people had a war going on, when you were growing up, and you see one of your enemies, and he's with a girl, is it usually a pass or is it usually whatever?
It depends on the person, bro. Like, it depends on the person. It depends on. It's a lot of factors, Vlad. It's an individual thing, like how that person thinks and feels about, with whether he would do something with the girl or not, or it depends on if something happened and he's retaliation. Just say if it happened the same day, and it was his family or something like that. Like, he might not care. You know what I'm saying? Some people might not care because the way people think is that, You made my mother cry, I want to make your mother cry. You understand what I'm saying? You killed my child, I'm gonna kill your child. Like, you know, that shit goes very deep, but it depends on the person. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I just interviewed Saigon, the rapper,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me about an incident where, you know, he was thugging it out. He was carrying a gun everywhere. Somebody bumped into him. And when he like said, yo, you bumped into me, the guy was like, I don't give a fuck. He pulled out a gun, shot that guy, and accidentally shot another guy that was just in the area. So now he
was trying to shoot him and shot somebody else on accident.
Shot someone else. So he shot both of them. But one guy had nothing to do with it. He just happened to be nearby. Well, I guess the incident where two people got shot, it started with someone bumping into you?
Yep, that's it. The guy bumped me. I told him, yo, first he bumped me. I looked at him. He was ice grilling. I walked up to him. I'm like, yo, my man, you bumped me. He's like, fuck out my face, and gave me a little nudge. And then I shot him. And while I'm shooting him, the second guy I didn't even mean to shoot. He's running. I shot him in the back of his ass and shot him up. And then I see another guy go, ah! And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, he's it.
Right. Yeah,
and
that's you know.
He got 6 years for that shooting.
That used to happen a lot. That's back in the day when people stepped on your shoes and people took that shit very serious. You know, like, it's a street mentality. You know what I'm saying? People walking around with a chip on their shoulder. You know what I mean? And, you know, somebody bump you, step on your shoe. In the streets, that's like, yeah, that might warrant you being shot or beat the fuck up real bad, you know? That's sad, though. I mean, he shot another guy. His aim was off, I guess.
Well, I mean, your adrenaline is pumping. You're pulling out a gun. There's chaos everywhere at that point. The first shot goes off. People are screaming. You know, and this was not the first shooting he had. There was another shooting he had where he shot up this guy's car. It was over a girl.
Damn. The Saigon was on one.
He was on one.
Yeah. Yeah, he was on one. He was thugging. You know, he was in his element. And I'm glad, you know, I can tell, you know, today he's not the same person. But that usually comes with, you know, the frustration of how you was raised, where you was raised at, and you showing people that, you know, don't fuck with me. You know what I mean? So he was on one. He was thugging.
You know, at 45 years old, when you look at this situation, and you look at one point you were that guy. If you step on BG Knocc Out's shoes, it's going to turn into a violent situation. At 45, do you realize how silly this is to give up
super silly, yes.
Decades of your life, or potentially the rest of your life, or potentially the death penalty if that person dies over scuffing a sneaker?
Yeah, it's very silly, man. But you know, you have to understand the background. You know, there's background information, meaning that we was raised that way. Like Vlad, people had raised us to be like that. Don't take nothing from nobody. And then once you've encountered so many situations, you know, and you probably was on the receiving end of a lot of that too. It could have happened to you. And then you was like, fuck that, I ain't gonna let that happen to me no more. So you became the aggressor in the situation. So, you know, yeah, it's silly as hell. At 45, it sounds so silly to me, but I do understand it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, because I know where it comes from. It's not just people walking around like I'm gonna shoot anybody that, you know what I mean? Like, that shit is built up in a person over time, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is why you got to listen to people our age when it comes to important life decisions.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and the youngsters, they'll take it better from people who they know who've been through it before, as opposed to a guy with a suit that walks up, you know, and don't look like he's ever even encountered, you know, the streets at all. You know, but people like us, yeah, definitely. People who've been to prison, who made it out, changed their ways, yeah, definitely should listen.
Well, R. Kelly's still in prison, or still in jail, I guess, awaiting his trial.
I heard something happened to him recently in jail, huh?
He got stabbed.
Damn.
He got beat up and stabbed by someone who had a "fuck the feds" tattoo on his face. And apparently, according from what I heard, there are these like little mini protests that are happening in front of the courthouse, like the Free R. Kelly fans, like like a bunch of like black female R. Kelly fans are like protesting in
Right.
front of the jail, talk about like R. Kelly should be free, which in turn I guess was causing a lockdown in the jails.
Uh-huh.
So the other inmates were basically mad at R. Kelly for that shit, even though technically he had
Wow.
nothing to do with it.
And that's why the guy stabbed him, supposedly?
That's
Wow.
why he got stabbed.
Fucking up their program, yeah. I mean, shit. But it's not necessarily his fault unless he's, writing out to the street and telling people to do that shit, but he don't have no control over that. How can you control what somebody doing outside? Like,
explain to me what a lockdown is.
A lockdown is usually, the administration will come up with a reason that, to keep you guys in a cell, no program. They might feed you in the cell, no commissary. And they just pretty much have you locked away. Like, it could be however long they feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been on lockdowns for a year, Vlad. Like, no movement. Like, coming out, like, you think I'm light-skinned now, like, super light. Dark dudes coming out light as a motherfucker. Like, when they killed Tookie, when they executed Tookie, they locked all of us down, like, for quite a while, yeah.
You were in the same prison? Were they
No,
executed
it don't, nope. I think what they was thinking were, we were in the same state, so I think what they were thinking that inmates was gonna retaliate as a result, of them killing him.
Was there any level of retaliation or?
Nah, like, sadly, Tookie gets a lot of props for being like an original, member of the Crips or whatever, but a lot of people don't care. You know what I mean? Like the younger generations don't respect it in that way. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, I mean, imagine R. Kelly right now. Like a year or so ago, he was this super accomplished R&B superstar. He's still doing shows around the country. Women are still like, pawing at him on stage. He's got money. Right. He's got girls at his house. He's eating at every restaurant that he wants to eat at. He's flying around in jets. And now he's getting stabbed with a pen.
It could be karma, man. It could be karma. I mean, like, if those girls are true about a lot of the things that they said or claimed that he did, it could just be, could be his payback. Never know. I know if one of them was my sister, like, I would probably try to stab him too, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. It could just be his karma coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when that tape was circulating, like the whole peeing tape, when it was circulating and all the swap meets and everything, like you can get that shit off the corner.
Absolutely.
You watch that tape and you're like, okay, that's R. Kelly. He got off on that first trial by paying off the witnesses.
Mm.
In fact, the girl who he peed on recently filed for bankruptcy.
Wow.
Think about that.
She was 14 at the time?
At the time, now she's an adult. But what you could surmise from that is that he had been paying her off all these years. And then now that he's in jail and his money is stopped, he can't keep paying her, so she basically had to just file for bankruptcy. She was living off R. Kelly this whole time. And I remember I interviewed Lisa Van Allen, who was one of R. Kelly's girlfriends, around that same time. And she broke down that whole story. Like, her family, like that girl basically said in a statement that that's not her in the tape, right? And her dad had to say the same thing, and he had to watch that tape. And from what I understand, he was crying and whatever, but he had to say that it wasn't his daughter, and he had gotten paid. He had showed up on R. Kelly's like next couple albums as like a bass player or something.
What the?
And during the trial, get this, that girl and her whole family were on an overseas cruise.
Wow.
So they got rid of any chance of them trying to subpoena that family and put them on the stand during that trial. So they're like, okay, they're out of the country on a boat. And he really played that whole situation. I was, remember how surprised we all were when he was not guilty?
Right, absolutely.
I said, come on, man. Like, y'all seen this tape. Like,
then he came back and made a song. I think him and Jay-Z had that one.
Oh, yeah, not
they
guilty.
had that one album, yeah. Like, damn. That's sad, bro. Like, damn. I didn't want to believe that about him, man. Like, it's hard. I think it's hard to accept when it's somebody you look up to. You know what I'm saying? Like we loved his music, you know what I mean? And we just didn't want to see him in that light. But that's so fucked up. That's fucked up, man.
Well, I'm trying to think. Last time that we talked, were Pop Smoke's alleged killers already arrested or no?
No, they weren't. No.
Okay.
That came out later, yeah.
So since last time that you and I had our interview, 5 people from LA, 3 of them were adults and 2 of them were underage.
Okay.
So I'm thinking maybe 17, 16-year-olds.
Right.
5 local LA dudes who had no connection to Pop Smoke at all. Because, remember when he first got killed, it was like, oh, it was probably over that Rolls Royce that he allegedly stole or didn't give back.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's probably that Brooklyn beef or whatever else. And you come to find out that he was in Hollywood on Instagram Live, flashing his address, flashing all his jewelry and his new designer clothes. And a couple of young hitters basically showed up at his house, and it was a robbery that turned into a murder.
Yeah, it was probably a home invasion. And they probably was just gonna rob him, but from what I heard he shot 2 or something like that, and that's probably why he got killed. I don't know, but
that's a rumor I heard, but you never heard about that.
Okay.
Like, I've never seen anything from any police report or any news article, legitimate news article. Like I think PNB Rock said that, like in an Instagram Live video. But that, that's not a real news source. It's not a real news source. You would think LAPD would release that information as well. But nah, 5 dudes are now, some of them are facing the death penalty over this.
Wow.
Because California has the death. I mean, if you think about a home invasion, robbery leading to a murder.
Because that's like one of the worst crimes. Yeah, that's one of the worst crimes you can commit.
Yeah, if you think of a reason for the death penalty, this is one of those reasons.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you endangered all those people's lives and shit. Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. It's tragic no matter how you cut it, man. It's like, fuck. And the guy, he was only 20, Pop Smoke was only 20 years old.
20 years old.
Damn,
man.
that's so sad,
He
man.
wasn't
He ain't
even
even lived.
old enough to drink.
So sad. And then you got other juveniles. And it's tragic.
Well, do you believe in the death penalty? Do you support that or no?
No, I don't believe that these people, I believe in it, but I don't think that America has the right to kill anyone. Like, they should start with themselves, like, start with the presidents on down, like, execute some of them, and then I might go along with it. But, you can't have it for everybody else and not yourself. You understand what I'm saying? Like, the atrocities they committed against the native people, like, where's the death penalty for all that shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't believe they have the right to do it, but I believe in it to a certain degree, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because you're always going to take like a worst case situation, like a Dylan Roof, right? And say, well, look, Dylan Roof.
Who is that?
He was the one in South Carolina that killed all those people in the black church.
Okay. Wow,
right?
Yeah, definitely.
So you look at...
They I think, yeah. I still, I just don't believe that these people have, they're not in a moral position to be executing people in my estimation. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's hard. Like, when something like that happens, the one you just mentioned, like, you know what I mean? They should have let the family kill him. You know what I mean? Like, let them just all get him in a room and just fuck over him. You know what I mean? Like, seriously.
I mean, the problem with the death penalty is that what happens when you get it wrong?
Yeah, which has been happening a lot, right? A lot of people have been coming off death row around the country due to DNA evidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Right. I mean, can you justify executing 9 people that are guilty and 1 person who's innocent? Does that wash out at the end of the day? Or do you say if 1 innocent person gets executed, then the whole system is broken and we should just take the death penalty off the table?
No, I think no. I don't. Yeah, that's a large gap, Vlad. But what if a lot of people that they executed before were innocent? You understand what I'm saying? Before the DNA shit came into play, it could be hundreds. It could be thousands. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I at one point was pro death penalty because I'm an eye for an eye type of dude, but I remember me and Mark Lamont Hill got into a big argument over this, during our interview, and he basically explained it just like that, like, does it justify if occasionally an innocent person ends up getting put to death? And honestly, I don't think there's a justification. I think you'd be much better off saying, well, you got triple life. You're never going to see, if you are eligible for the death penalty, you get put in whatever isolation for the next, your last remaining years. It's a very hard, the harshest penalty you could do besides death, but you take death off the table. Because, if you imprison a person for the rest of their life, at some point they could actually come up with the evidence to prove that they're innocent.
Absolutely.
Once you kill somebody and you find out that they're actually innocent,
you can't take that back. Yeah. Yeah. And that's fucked up because, one innocent person should matter. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck if it's 100 to 1. That one life should matter. If he's innocent, like, come on, man, that's his life. And who is somebody else to dictate if he should live or die? You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's fucked up.
Do you personally know anyone who got the death penalty?
Yes, I do.
Okay, who is this?
It's a guy. It's a guy named Chicken Swoop. You heard of Swoop G, right? The rapper.
Yeah.
His big homie. When I was fighting my case, they came and got him and took him straight to death row. Yeah.
Okay, you're talking about Brian Keith Vaughn?
I don't know his name.
From East Long Beach.
East Long Beach, yeah.
Yeah, Brian Keith Vaughn, aka Original Gangster Chicken Swoop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we was all in the same module in the county when they came and got him. Actually, yeah, they came in a helicopter and took him straight to death row. When you go to death row, you go straight to death row. You don't go to, because usually like California, like when you get a prison sentence, you go into what they call a reception center, right? And it's not necessarily prison, so it's like a waiting place they take you to. And then they classify you to see what level prison yard they're gonna put you on. But when you go to death row, you go straight to death row from the county jail. Yeah, they fly you straight there.
Yeah, he actually wrote, I'm looking, he actually wrote a whole like kind of essay about his whole situation. And he said, I took a life and for that reason I'm willing to pay.
Wow.
I'll be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Can't stop, won't stop. Our struggle continues forever. Backward never, OG Chicken Swoop. So I guess what, it was for a murder?
I believe so, yeah.
Because California executes very few people over the years.
Yeah, it takes quite a while. Like, yeah, it takes a long time. Like, they're not like Texas for sure. Texas will kill you in 2 years.
Boom.
Texas kill like handicapped people. They don't give a damn. Like, they'll kill you quick as hell. But yeah, Cali, it does take quite a while usually, yeah.
Well, speaking of Pop Smoke, do you know who's going to be representing one of his murder suspects?
Who?
Chris Darden.
He's always trying to do some shit, man. Like, Chris Darden need to sit his ass down somewhere, bro. He's always popping up in these fucking, like, he's trying to stay relevant or something. I don't know.
Well, remember he was going to represent Eric Holder, Shitty Cuz, who killed Nipsey Hussle. And then he ended up stepping down just because of, I guess, death threats and stuff like that.
Yeah, because, that guy, like, I've actually seen Chris Darden in a few clubs in Hollywood before, man, just hanging out like a regular guy. Like, hanging out, I'm serious, bro. Like, which is funny as hell, after the OJ shit, to see him pop up. Like, I think he smokes weed, all type of shit. He be trying to act like a real brother. Like, trying to hang amongst the people and shit, but like he's pulling these stunts. Like he need to really sit down somewhere, man.
Well, do you think that after the OJ trial, he was sort of on the opposite side of black people in a way? Like
Absolutely.
so many black people called him a sellout and whatever else. He's just gonna say, you know, at one point he just said, fuck it. I know that this community is never gonna accept me, so I'm just gonna basically troll them at this point.
No. Like I said, he's been hanging out. So I think what he did was he kind of hid out for a long time. Stayed away, you know, stayed out the public eye and stuff like that. And then he came back around years later when other generations came, you know, got older and stuff like that. And they didn't have the same, you know, the same disdain because they didn't really know about OJ. You know what I mean? Like Pop Smoke's generation, the one a little bit before him, they don't really know about how serious that was to us back then. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I think he stayed out the way for so long. And then like most of us who are older, we just don't care no more. You know what I mean? All the shit that we seen OJ do after is like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, but.
Right. I mean, all of my black friends have always told me the same thing when we have the OJ conversation. And that is, we all know he did it, but it was just nice to see someone actually get away with it as opposed to being charged for something, you know, convicted of something they didn't do.
I still don't think he did it.
You don't think he did it?
Nah.
All that evidence.
Nah, it didn't add up, bro. I mean, cause you know, they was planting shit. That one cop, I forgot his name.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they was planting shit, man. I don't think he did it, to be honest. He probably paid for it to happen.
Mark Furman.
But did you ever go to that house and see? Like I went over there. Like it would be hard to get away with that unless you knew exactly what the fuck you were doing. Like if you'd have went there and seen the yard and like seen where they got stabbed at, like there was some people that knew what the fuck they were doing, bro. Like it wasn't no, you know, that wasn't just no simple murder. Like it wasn't.
Yeah, Mark Furman. That's the cop you're talking about.
Yeah, Mark Furman. Like, yeah, so nah, OJ might have known. He might have known, he might have had it done, but I doubt if he did it. He don't look like a person to me that could do something. Like, I just don't take him as that. You know what I mean? Especially to stab a person. To stab a person to death is different than shooting a person. Like, you gotta have a certain type of gut to get, you know.
Well, OJ wrote a book called If I Did It. And that book actually, it never came out, but it leaked online. And I actually read the passage about the murder. And he basically was saying him and someone else did it. There was someone else involved. He didn't do it by himself, but I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I can't see it, man. Like, I can't see it happening and nobody even, you know, like, I don't know. I mean, I think anybody's capable of anything, but like I said, if you'd have went to Brentwood and seen where the murder happened at, like it was in the front yard, they had neighbors close by. Then somebody lived behind them. Like that's somebody that probably did this several times before, if you ask me, like for it to have gone that smooth, you know what I mean? That's just my opinion. I don't know. I don't know, but that's my opinion.
We'll never know. Maybe OJ will tell us on his deathbed or something like that. Maybe he's going to try to get right with God at the very end and say, okay, I really did it.
I think the reason why he was doing all that because he knew his life was over, bro. And he, you know, people be looking for other ways to stay relevant and whatnot, you know. Maybe he's so narcissistic that he just played on that shit, but I don't know.
Well, just recently, the son of the soul food restaurant Sweetie Pies, James Timothy Norman, is actually charged with a murder for hire for his nephew over the insurance money.
What is this about?
So basically, okay, so you know it's a TV show. It's a reality show called Sweetie Pies. It's a soul food restaurant.
I'm not hip to it. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a soul food restaurant. There's a bunch of them. It's a chain called Sweetie Pies. The owner, she was actually one of Ike and Tina Turner's backup singers.
Oh,
right?
wow.
And she has a son who I've actually interviewed before. Me and him kept in contact at one point. He seemed like a cool dude to me. They're saying that he obtained a $450,000 life insurance policy on his 18-year-old nephew, and he essentially did a murder for hire to try to collect on that money.
Damn. That's sad. That's so fucked up. Like, that's so fucked up. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that serious, man. Like, but
It is
apparently
not
to
that
him
serious.
it was, but it's just not that serious, yeah. Like,
Well,
you know, when people do this type of shit, like, what makes them think that their life is gonna have any kind of prosperity? Like, when you do this kind of evil to people, man, like, that's crazy to me. Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of that, 2 people have been arrested for Jam Master Jay's murder.
Yeah, I saw that.
And one of them, and I actually got some background story on this because I know someone that's close to the situation. One of them was Jam Master Jay's godson.
That's cool.
He's basically like Jam Master, Run-D.M.C's main bodyguard,
Mm-hmm.
had a son, and Jam Master Jay became the godfather of that son. So he was always around.
Mm.
And they're saying he's one of the 2 men involved in Jam Master Jay's murder. And when you look at his Instagram page, he's posing next to a bunch of Jam Master Jay murals and, you know, talking about, oh, I miss my godfather and all this other type of shit.
Yeah, knowing he had something to do with it. That's so fucked up, man. That's so cold. But you know, Jay, you know, a lot of people don't know Jay was a street dude, man. Like Jay was, I think he was still hustling and things like that. And it's still tragic no matter how you cut it, but they probably was trying to rob him, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause
Well, apparently the story is that Jay was involved in some sort of cocaine distribution situation, and then he pulled out of it, and I guess maybe they lost a bunch of money around it or something like that, and this was like a retaliation. It's a damn, like, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's a damn shame that someone on the caliber of a Jam Master Jay has to get back into drug selling in order to maintain
it is a
certain type of
shame.
lifestyle, because although Run-D.M.C was not in his heyday at that point, he's still an iconic figure. He still was getting DJ gigs.
It's shameful. That's shameful to me on Russell Nim, you know what I mean? Because like, you know, Run-D.M.C was Def Jam, if you ask me. You know what I'm saying? Run-D.M.C, LL Cool J.
Well, Run-D.M.C technically was not on Def Jam. They were managed by Russell, but they were they're on Profile Records, I think.
All right, but
they technically, but it was a very strong connection.
Absolutely.
You know, so
that's what I'm saying though. They, you know, Russell, you know, was a big part of their career, right? And I'm sure the money he made managing them went to that label too. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But yeah, it's sad, bro. But that's how people are. You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't really give a fuck, man. Like, they don't give a fuck about you at the end of the day. Because the fact that he had to even be in that lifestyle, like that's shitty to me.
Yeah, but a lot of times, like, you know, you get addicted, you get used to a certain type of lifestyle. And I'm wondering if that happened to the son of the Sweetie Pies restaurant, that like you just get used to a certain type, you know, the money's coming, you get used to a certain type of lifestyle and it dries up.
Sometimes that happened too, but then a lot of times, like, for a guy like Jay, he probably was kind of, you know, forced by circumstance, you know what I'm saying? Like, to be in that lifestyle. You know what I mean? He probably had all types of child support and other type of shit going on that in order to maintain his livelihood, he probably had to. You know what I mean? Because he was a great dude. Like, if you ever knew him personally, I toured with him before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man. I had like, we toured for like a few months when he had Jail Felony. You know, he the one put Jail Felony out too.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
And I had his Rolex like the whole tour. He actually forgot, you know, and then when we came off tour, like I had reminded him, he was like, oh shit, you know what I mean? But I had his Rollie on the whole tour, like he just totally forgot about it. He was a good dude, like super down to earth dude, well respected by street cats everywhere that I went with him. You know what I'm saying? Even here in Las Vegas. Like we put up in the projects and shit. Like on the real, he knew some cats over there. It was crazy, but just a great guy, man. Like he was.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at any documentaries about Run-D.M.C, Jam Master Jay was the dude that really influenced their whole style and everything else like that. Like before Jam Master Jay came around, they were wearing like these like white, like rainbow suits and like some crazy looking shit. And he came in with like, yo, like that black leather shit, that's what all the street dudes in Queens were wearing. So they adopted his style.
Oh, that's dope. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he was the one, he was like the street dude that really like kind of held down. You know, and
because Run-D.M, they were like a preacher's son, right? Like Run and yeah. So yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, well, Run and Russell Simmons are brothers.
Right.
And they came from a nice, they
came from some different shit.
You know, DMC, I went to St. John's University. Like,
right.
There was no rappers talking about going to college.
Right.
These were nice middle class kids, and then Jam Master Jay came in. Like, all right, this is how we're gonna do it.
Okay.
And man, fucking sad.
So tragic.
To think that it's someone that close to you also is like.
But it usually is, man. And under those circumstances, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's what people really don't consider, man, because that lifestyle, it breeds that type of shit in people, especially when people see you clocking that type of money and they not getting it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. R.I.P. J, man. JMJ.
Well, since last time, there was a Chicago rapper named FBG Duck that got murdered on like the Rodeo Avenue in Chicago, the most public place. And as soon as it happened, everyone started tagging me because I had done 2 interviews with him. And in the first interview, he talked about how he had been shot 2 times already in Chicago. And I'm like, all right, so why don't you move? And he starts giving me all these reasons why he's not going to move. He's like, oh, well, I don't trust people. I don't want to move somewhere. And I'm not trying to get to know a bunch of people I don't know. And all right, well, fuck you. You'll make new friends. Nah, but I know where to go and where not to go. I know that, when I got shot before, it's because I was somewhere where I wasn't supposed to be and so forth. I know how to move. But whatever. He was on fucking Rodeo Drive, man. Like, he was in front of the Chanel store. If you think that there's one place that someone's not going to start firing, is in front of a high-end luxury store where there's cameras everywhere, there's tourists everywhere. There's no way of really quickly getting away from a situation like that. But shortly before the shooting, he had dropped a song called Dead Bitches, where he talks about all the dudes that have gotten killed from his enemy's clique. And he just starts breaking them all down. Like, yeah, so-and-so got shot, fuck them. So I'm smoking so-and-so, and like, I don't know whether those 2 situations are related. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But from the outside looking in, doing a song like that, you're asking for a lot of problems down the road.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's probably why they didn't care where they shot him at. You know what I mean? Because that whole retaliation thing is serious, man. When you kill somebody's family, their close friend or their family, they probably not gonna care where they see you. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was that movie that Samuel L. Jackson played in? I think when his daughter got raped and by the 2 racist dudes, he waited in the courtroom. You know what I'm saying? Like when the dudes came out of court, standing at a phone booth and killed them right there. Like, so that should be serious. You know what I mean? Like, that's probably why it happened where it happened. Like people, that shit breeds that type of energy. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you were on one of the greatest diss records of all time, or Real Compton City G's.
Absolutely.
And you dissed a bunch of dudes that you personally do not have any beef with. It's really easy. It's really Easy's beef, right?
Absolutely.
And over time, you got into it with the Dog Pound and everything else like that. But at no point did you actually call out dead members of these people's families or their close circles.
I didn't know him to do that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know enough about them to even, you know what I mean? But I wouldn't have done that anyway, because that's beyond disrespectful. You know, the only way I would have done that is if they had done something to me personally or something to one of my people personally. Like what those guys in Chicago they're going through real situations where on both sides, people actually, you know, do get murdered. You know what I mean? So maybe if that was the case with us, I probably would have. You know what I mean?
Well, for example, right?
Yeah.
And y'all are cool now, so I'm not trying to put this into that. But Nate Dogg passed away some years back.
Right.
Right. And you got into it with Nate Dogg.
Yeah.
Didn't you and Nate Dogg like?
We had a fight. Yeah.
You had an actual fight. Was he the one that hit you with a golf club or something like that?
Yeah, my brother. He hit Drayster. He didn't hit me.
He hit Drayster with a golf club.
But that's still, I you know, like that was just an unfortunate situation, but I would never disrespect that man, like ever.
Right. Imagine making a diss song dissing Nate Dogg right now.
Yeah, nah. That would never happen.
It's just lame.
Yeah, it's lame as shit. But you know, when you gang banging, like what those guys what we was doing was some rap shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you happen to have real gang bangers on one side and rappers on the other side, but the gang bangers understood that, you know, these guys was rappers, so we didn't take it that serious, right? What you got with Duck-N-M, you know, RIP Duck, they actually gang banging daily. You see what I'm saying? People dying daily. They going to funerals daily. So yeah, in that situation, I can see it, but I don't think it's wise to, you know, when you have a promising career and future, to stay involved. Like, that's not smart.
And let me tell you, the saddest part of that story, the absolute saddest part of that story is his mother had 3 kids. FBG Duck got murdered. His brother got murdered like maybe a year or 2 years ago. We actually talked about it in our interview. And she had a 3-year-old daughter, I believe, who ended up accidentally setting a fire like in the bedroom and ended up dying as well. She had 3 kids and buried all 3 of them. I cannot imagine what she went through after losing her final child.
She should have even been pushing more for him to leave. You understand what I'm saying? After shit like that, like, I don't know, man. That shit is sad. That's sad. That's a horror story, man. Like, it's ugly.
Yeah. And I mean, his own brother got shot and killed over what appeared to be some gang type shit.
And it's just not smart, man, to mix that with your, you know, if you, you know, was he making money from his career and shit like that?
Yeah,
like,
no, he signed a record deal. He had a big song. The song called Slide was like a hit song. I mean, it wasn't like a big national hit, but it was definitely like something that got millions of views. And he was one of the known Chicago rappers. Like, he wasn't Chief Keef, he wasn't Lil Durk, but he was one of the known Chicago rappers.
Right, he was on the rise pretty much coming up.
Well, he had been doing it for a while, and he had a real fan base, and like he had, you know, some songs that really were bigger songs. Like, let's take a look. Let me see FBG Duck. Like, yeah, Slide is at 55 million views.
Damn.
You know, and he's got a few, you know, that song Dead Bitches that I talked about, that's at 10 million views. You know, another song called Exposing Me remix is at 21 million. So it's like he had a bunch of songs with tens of millions of views. So
yeah, he should have moved, man. I'd rather him had, you know, moved away and still be alive and still doing his shit as opposed to what happened to him, you know?
Yeah, listen, Chief Keef, when he became the hottest thing in Chicago, he got moved to Calabasas.
Right, right.
He lives in my city.
Yeah, he was smart. Yeah.
He rents mansions. He's got nice cars. He's got money. He's got all his homies at the crib. He's got girls. He's got a bunch of kids now. And I have not heard of Chief Keef.
He was smart.
I have not heard of Chief Keef stepping foot in Chicago since he got hot. How's that?
Yeah, that's smart, bro, because he already know what comes with it. You know what I mean? Like, he know what comes with that. he know what comes with it. Just like Boosie say, you know, it's hard to be famous in your own town because, you know, people just won't let you live. Like, they'll look for a situation, you know what I'm saying, to pull you into some bullshit. Like, so it was smart of him, yeah.
Well, D.L. Hughley in our last interview, he said something interesting. He said, why was Pop Smoke, Biggie, and Tupac all killed by LA gangsters?
It's one of the things I've always, the reasons I try to see the world like, because you grow up here and it's so small and all that matters is this thing. And then you see how big it is. And look at how devastating that mentality is just to our community. Look at the things that those men would have gone on to accomplish. What if those men had gotten to be our age now?
Yeah.
Where they would be at now. The things they would be saying.
Yeah. Imagine Tupac as a voice in the 2020 election. Imagine Tupac telling Kanye to shut the fuck up.
Right.
And everyone's saying, yeah,
right.
This is the guy we need to listen to. We need to stop listening to Kanye.
Imagine what
Tupac,
Biggie would have done. Imagine what Nipsey was doing.
Yeah.
And it's there seems to be this thing from here, and this is the city I love and grew up in. Why them all the time?
Yeah.
And it's nothing to be proud of.
No.
And it's devastating to our future. Because how influential those men were, but how many people grew with them and how much more influential they would have been. You talk about John Lewis and how impactful he was in his way, obviously, and how many decades.
He lived to 80.
Yeah.
He was 80
and how
years
many
old.
decades he influenced people. He's one of the first black people to lie in state. They carried his body over a bridge that he was beaten on. Look at what he was at a 22-year-old man and the things he accomplished at 80. Imagine men like that who got to do that, who got to have that continuum experience that they can impart to people. And to be snuffed out by a mentality that has to have something in it. It's got to be something in the soil and the water because it's specifically here.
I don't know.
What is it about
what
the
did
LA?
he try to say?
Well, think about it. I mean, three of some of the most prominent rappers were all killed by.
All different.
It was all different.
Yeah. Those are all different situations, but I mean, LA is the street mentality, bro, like, which is so unfortunate. They live like that, bro. Like they'll kill you for next to nothing. You know what I mean? It's just like that out there. So you gotta really tread LA, you know, carefully. Like, you don't go out there fucking around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the Pop Smoke situation. You feel like, all right, like if you're hanging out in Compton and a shooting happened, you know, if you're in, you know, South Central, like,
yeah,
I get it. You're in the Hollywood Hills. Like, this
Right.
house was owned by one of the Real Housewives of.
But it don't matter, Vlad, because, you know, they do home invasions in the Hollywood Hills and shit. You know what I'm saying? So that shit don't matter. You know what I mean? There's no place in LA that you can live where people can't get to. I don't give a fuck where it's at.
Yeah.
You know? And for him to have showed his address on the thing was just, that was a slip up, you know? He slipped on that one.
Well, I had Akon on recently, and this was a story I'd heard for years and years. But since me and him were doing a long sit down interview, I was like, okay, let's go ahead and talk about this. So there was a situation where Akon's road manager knocked out Suge.
Okay.
You know about this?
A little bit, and somebody got shot and all that shit inside of a club or something.
Nobody got shot.
Oh, no?
No, there was a situation where Suge Knight got shot at like a Chris Brown, like,
okay, that was Chris.
nightclub thing. No,
Yeah,
this was before.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, Akon's manager knocked out Suge.
Okay.
So I had heard the story already from Akon's manager, but we went over the whole story with Akon. And the stories completely matched up. And this is what Akon said. And we'll go ahead and play the clip. But essentially, this is what happened.
Well, it was a lot going on. And it was a lot of, everybody was kind of tipsy except me because I'm completely sober all the time. So
Yeah.
I clearly saw everything that happened. The first punch came from 2 T's to his homie.
Okay.
Because at the moment when I grabbed him by the neck and started talking to him, the homie looked like he was about to pull.
Yeah.
And that's when 2 T's hooked off on him. Homie fell, and the gun fell to the floor with it.
Mm.
And at that moment, that's when Ja hooked off on Suge.
And knocked him out.
And Suge fell down in slow motion.
Yeah.
And that's when Big D grabbed me and the gun that was on the floor and took me to my room.
Right. And then according to Ja, security ran in and started tasing him.
And then this club security, when they came,
Yeah.
I was already out the back door.
Right. Suge Knight was managing a producer called Detail. Right. And this is a producer that had been in a bunch of shit with a bunch of different people. And apparently Suge felt like he was Akon was working with him, and he was signed to someone else, I think Ray J at the time, and Suge was working with Ray J, and they felt that they were owed $25,000 for Detail. So they, Suge saw Akon at a club, whatever. He approached him about that, and Akon was like, all right, cool. When he makes some money, when he gets some placements, when that first $25,000 comes, I'll send it to y'all. No problem. Akon's a multimillionaire. He's not tripping off $25,000. Right. So Suge sees him again a couple months later. Where's the money? Well, we already told you. He hasn't had any placements yet. As soon as he gets a placement, you'll get the money. Then the third time, this was in Arizona at the Super Bowl at the time. Okay. Suge rolls up on him again, was like, yo, what's up with that money? And he was like, yo, again? Like, we had already told you.
But 25, Suge is tripping on 25.
When we get the money, we gon' get it to you within 30 days. And at this point, Suge was a little drunk. He's like, fuck that. We don't wait no 30 days for this shit. This is LA, So then Akon's, road manager comes in. This dude, Ja, who's a real big motherfucker. He actually was part of John Gotti Jr.'s crew. So he already had a criminal record and a bunch of other grimy shit he'd been involved in.
Right.
So he got in the middle of it and he told Suge, look, you're not going to get paid today, but if you have a problem, we can go in the bathroom and we can fight.
Wow.
And then Suge started mouthing off. I don't fight. I'll have your mother killed. I'll have your whole family killed. Motherfucker, you know who? And then Ja just punched him in the face. He just had enough. And
was
after
this the
all
first
that,
time Suge got knocked out? That was the first
no,
time.
I think it was the second time.
Okay.
Because the first time I think it was a barber. A barber knocked him out. Right? So this is the second time. He knocked him out. Security came in and tased everybody. Mm-hmm. And then after everything was said and done, Suge ended up pressing charges.
Whoa. No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Suge pressed charges, and Ja was facing like 10 years or something because he had all these priors.
Big Suge pressed charges.
And Akon had to cut Suge a check for him to drop the charges.
No fucking way, man. Damn, that's so sad. Yeah. I never knew that. Suge actually pressed charges on somebody.
I heard this from the two people involved.
Wow.
From both people involved, both told me the exact same story. Ja and Akon both said that Suge pressed charges. And he dropped the charges once he got paid off.
That's crazy. That's so crazy. That's so crazy. You know what that makes Suge look like? This is the industry bully, right? Mm-hmm. Pressing charges. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy.
It's kind of sad to me that your best friend, Tupac gets killed and you don't want to cooperate with the police to help solve his murder. But
you have pressed charges because
when you get beat up, you go and press charges in order to get a check.
Yeah, that's sad. He was doing bad.
You're gonna cooperate with the police.
Suge at one point, Suge had more money than all the CEOs of hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
He had I think he was like 360 million in the fucking early 90s or some shit. Like, where people didn't even see that type of money. Easy haven't had that type of money. You know what I mean? And to hear that he was tripping over $25,000, bro.
Well, it's not even 25,000, right? It's half of 25,000. It's 12.5.
Well, damn, that's even worse. You know what I'm saying? That's even worse, bro. Like, God, that's fucking sad, man. That's sad, man. Let's talk about something happy. Cause shit, bro. Like, fuck, that's horrible, man. That makes
Never
me
heard that
sad
story
for
before,
him.
huh?
Huh? It just
Never heard
makes
that
me
story before.
Nah, man, hell nah. I mean, cause obviously I'm not that close to Suge and that side of the tracks. Although I have family, but they even don't fuck with them like that. But that's sad, man. That's so damn sad, like to hear that. Cause a lot of people think Suge was a really intelligent person, like, that's tragic, bro.
Well, it just shows the full circle of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, from
Karma.
he ended up doing the same shit as when he started out. Because think about it, he got the start of his career by shaking down people like Vanilla Ice or
Right.
trying to shake down, Easy and so forth, over contracts and whatever else, and
Right.
taking a big cut in the process. So it's like, all right, well, death row's gone. I got to still pay my bills. Let me go back to my original job.
Nah.
I mean, if you think about it, if you really think about it, he's in prison right now for that same shit.
Yeah. But damn.
He
man.
went to Compton to try to shake down Dre and Cube for the NWA, for being depicted in the NWA movie.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking. I think what he thought was because it was close to his neighborhood and all that he had some type of leverage, but his reputation by then it was like, it was shitty, nobody feared him no more, you know what I mean? So it just wasn't smart on his part, to even think that he could do that. But it just makes me sad, man, to see a person to have, gained so much and then fall so low, all due to the decisions he made. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit is crazy. It's crazy.
Right. I mean, Suge can't really blame anyone but Suge, if you really think
Absolutely.
about it. Like Suge could have been a billionaire right now.
Absolutely.
Think about it. Like,
Absolutely.
let's just say things played out differently.
Mm-hmm.
Suge would have had Tupac, Dre, Snoop, Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, Beats by Dre. Like, all that was under his umbrella at one point.
Absolutely.
Directly or indirectly.
Absolutely.
50 Cent. Okay?
Mhm.
Like, some of the biggest acts ever could have been part of Suge's catalog.
Absolutely.
If he was like, look, I got Dre, I'm going to make sure that Dre is always comfortable, that he's never in these weird, violent situations. I'm not going to have all these gangsters around him to make him feel uneasy. If I have that part of my lifestyle, I'm keeping it completely away from Dre.
Yeah, I think his life would have been much better if he would have just stayed the bodyguard, though. You know what I'm saying? Just been a regular person, because it just goes to show that everybody can't handle wealth and success. Because most people will destroy themselves. Like Tupac's mother said in the movie, they're gonna give you the tools to destroy yourself, and everybody just can't handle, you gotta be careful what you ask for. You understand what I'm saying? And everything ain't for everybody. And Suge is the perfect example, man, because he was at the epitome of wealth, fame, success, Black CEO, with that type of situation that he had going on, man, like of the dopest label at one point, and you in prison and possibly gonna die there. Like, that shit is tragic, man. That's an American horror story. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously. Because it don't make sense to have done all that to end up where you are. Like, I'd rather just be a regular person. I'd rather work at McDonald's, bro, than to be in Suge's position. Like, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, 28 years going in your 50s?
Yeah, that's not cool. So not cool. Then you got children you leaving out here, like, like, that's not smart.
Yeah, I mean, Suge is one of these, like, you just don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense. It's someone who did not let his new surroundings, affect him in a positive way.
What I had thought when he first went to prison the first time you know, what I could have seen for him is him coming home, hiring someone to be in his position, and him just living his life. You understand what I'm saying? Come in here and there, make sure everything's going fine, like a CEO. Make sure the company is up to par and stuff like that, and then go live your life, go vacation, and do some different shit, man. Like, it just wasn't wise. It wasn't wise for him to come home and be on the same shit that got you in prison, bro. Like, as a multi-millionaire, that was kind of stupid to me. So stupid.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you can't really bully people with money like that.
Definitely, yeah.
You really can't, because once you're on their radar like that, they're just going to protect themselves. They're going to have armed security. They're going to have whoever is going to take care of, like, I think Jimmy Iovine's going to fist fight you. Like,
yeah.
that's not going to happen.
I'm surprised.
He's
I'm surprised he
hire a
lived as
bunch
long
of-
as he did, to be honestly. Like, fucking with a person like Jimmy, yeah. I'm surprised Suge even lasted that long, bro, to be honest.
Well, and an interesting part of the whole story involving Death Row and Puffy, when I interviewed Keefe D, part of the story was that Puffy had allegedly promised like $1 million for the murder of Tupac.
Wow.
And Suge. This is one of the theories that were brought up, during Keefe's confession tapes and, Greg Kading and so forth. And part of the story was that money was given to Eric Von Zip, who was sort of a go-between between Puffy and the Southside Crips. He was the person that allegedly gave the gun to Orlando and them that night in Vegas. And I interviewed TK Kirkland in our last interview. And I come to find out that he was actually best friends with Zip. They were actually roommates together.
Wow.
And what he told me was that Zip got like $500,000 from Puffy and ended up keeping it.
Just took it.
Bought like a nightclub with it. Eric Von Zip is now dead. He ended up dying from cancer some years later. So we're talking about someone who's not around anymore.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting situation, because even TK said had Zip actually given that money to Keefe in Orlando, then Puffy would be charged with like a murder for hire and so forth. By him stealing that money, everyone kind of got shielded from that situation. Well, the story that has circulated was that after Tupac got killed, Puffy allegedly gave the money
I heard.
to Zip.
Yes.
And Zip was supposed to give the money to Keefe and them.
Yes.
But he never gave the money to him.
But thank God he never gave him the money, right? Think about it. If he gave the money, Puffy will be in prison now, money for hire, a murder for hire. So thank God. It's just a true story. I'm not saying yes or no, but if he would have gave them the money, it'd have been a murder for hire and Puffy would be locked up.
That's interesting. That's super interesting. Damn, Puff. Damn. Whew. Yeah, man, that shit right there. Another tragic story, man. Like I hate that shit, Vlad. Like, you don't even know. Like, all of that shit, man, that shit is so sad. It's like, fuck. Like, what's wrong with people, man? Like, I don't understand. Like, why is millionaires, people who made it out the hood or just made a better way for themselves, why are y'all still playing these types of games with people's lives and shit? Like, that shit is horrible.
Remember, you were one of the first people to actually speak about Orlando on camera in our interview years back. We kept that interview for a while because we were going to release it around the Tupac movie. And I remember you had done like a little video intro before the video, basically explaining that, hey, listen, this is nothing against Tupac.
Right.
Respect to all his fans and his family and so forth.
Absolutely.
I'm just speaking on my relationship with Orlando, who you were very close to. that interview got big, and we've spoken about, you know, your relationship with Orlando over the years and so forth. Has anyone ever approached you or said anything around that based on your...
people always ask me, yeah, absolutely. Like even overseas, bro, like I be traveling overseas, like doing tours and shit. And a lot of overseas Tupac fans will, you know, they'll wait for the right time and then they'll ask me about that shit. Like, yeah, yeah, people ask me about it. But, you know, I think they understand that, you know, you can't help who you friends with, bro. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and that's that situation that happened. Like, if you look at it, it's clear, you know, like, it's easy to put two and two together and figure out what happened. You know what I'm saying? But it's just, it's sad. Like in hindsight, like, damn, like all of those people, man, like are dead over nothing, over mainly ego. You know what I mean? And that's sad. Like that's the part that bothers me at this stage in my life. Like, because they could have really had a quality life, you know, had they just made a better decision.
Right, because according to Keefe, the story goes is after Orlando got jumped, he had proposed to Suge to just do a one-on-one fight with Tupac in Orlando.
See, that could have been a better situation.
Yeah, and
like, why
from
not?
people I know around Tupac, they say Pac would have done it. Pac is down.
I believe he would have too. Like I believe, because I heard Pac actually fought Suge. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know, according to some people. But yeah, so yeah, that's always better, bro. That's always better than taking somebody's life. Go get it out your system, you know what I'm saying? And live to see another day. Like, they should have did that shit and just been over with it, man. Like,
imagine that. Imagine everyone gets together, Club 662 in the back room, Pac and Orlando knuckle up.
And then it could have been a situation, it didn't even have to be that. It could have just been them two. Look, we're gonna meet each other in the valley on this street behind this store. Like, nobody else have to be involved. Like, maybe one other person just to make sure, you know, nobody fuck with nobody. But come on, man, like, settle that shit a different way. Like, that shit is messed up, man. It's just, and you can't take none of it back, you know? That's the sad part, like, yeah, it's fucked up, Vlad. It's fucked up. I hate it.
Yeah.
What good news you got over there? What good news you got, Vlad? Because this shit is making me sad. Like,
nah, I feel you. Well, 19 black families got together and bought over 90 acres of land in Georgia as a safe city for black people.
That's dope. That's really dope. So what is the city like? I mean, are they building it? Or is it already?
I think it's a bunch of land.
Okay.
I think it's a bunch of land, so you're gonna have to run, you know, electricity, plumbing, that type of thing.
Are they accepting investments from other people?
I'm not sure. It was 19 families all invested. I mean, land in Georgia is not really that expensive, especially if there's nothing on it.
According to what I heard, yeah.
So 90 acres, 19 families, I could see that. You know, everyone throwing maybe $100,000 or something, and
that's dope, man. That's almost like what Akon doing in his country, right?
Right, but what Akon is doing is a little different, is that Akon is going to have his own police force in the city.
But we're going to have, obviously, an independent police force there that works. Like, we're going to have our own infrastructure all the way around the board. Our own fire departments, own police stations, own everything.
That's so crazy.
But it'll work in conjunction with the government, though.
Wouldn't they be able to also in Georgia?
In America? In Georgia? Your own police force? Come on now. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, shit, maybe. I don't know. I mean, Georgia is a different place, though. Georgia is not like the rest of America, bro. I mean, Atlanta isn't. I'm going to say Atlanta. Yeah, it's not like the rest of the country. Like, they might, you never know. Is it true, though, like when you purchase land with gold, like you, it's really yours?
No.
No?
Makes no difference. No.
It doesn't? Why?
No. Because when you purchase land, you purchase land. I don't care if you use dollars, francs, gold, chickens, whatever the
So how do you get the
is.
mineral rights to the land that you buy then?
Well, I think if you own the land, you have the mineral rights. You own what's underneath the land as well.
Absolutely.
But purchasing it with gold doesn't make a difference.
No?
Nah.
Okay.
Nah. In fact, I mean, I don't even know how you would even close a sale like that because, you know, the bank has to get paid. Now, you could take gold and change it into cash and then buy it.
Yeah.
But you got to trade it in at one point.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy, but that's dope though that they did that. Like, it'll be interesting to see like what comes of it. Like, if they're gonna build stuff there and like what type of things they're gonna do. I would visit it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I want to visit that.
I don't know how it's gonna be safer though if they don't have their own police and shit. Like, I don't
see.
That's the part that I don't really understand. But whatever.
That's what I'm saying. Well, see, it becomes a complicated situation, right?
Mhm.
Number one, white police could roll through there whenever they feel like it. Number one. Number two, you technically can't have just black people there.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's just say you build a bunch of apartment buildings. You can't just rent just to black people. That's discrimination.
Right.
You could try, but if one white person decides to sue, everything can come crashing down.
Yeah. So I mean, that makes the whole thing moot then. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah.
I think it's one of those things that sound really dope in theory, but when you look at the actual details of it, you know, because you're talking about, remember, like Black Wall Street, you know, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and how it got burned down and everything else like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was during a time of, you know, segregation and so forth, where white and black people really didn't intermix.
Blacks had to depend on each other, They
had to depend on each other. So I think they're trying to do something like that. I don't know, man. Listen, I hope it works. I hope that it becomes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great idea, you know, but for it to materialize in that way, it remains to be seen, you know. It would be dope. I think it's a dope idea, but I know Atlanta is a different place. Like, that's like its own country, if you ask me. Like, Atlanta is dope, though. There's a lot of things about Atlanta I really like.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people compare it to Wakanda.
Yeah, I mean, it would be our Wakanda in today's time, yeah. Definitely, because, you know, everywhere you go, you see your people in positions of power and authority, and they own things, you know. And the people are hella hospitable too, like very respectful. Like, there's no other place in the country that I've been to that's like that. It's just not.
Well, speaking of Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman just died at
Rest in peace, Chadwick,
43 years old, I think.
Yeah, 43, yeah. Sad, bro. That was tragic too. But you know, when you got cancer and shit, like, there's nothing you can do. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'd rather him, you know, had passed that way than from some other crazy shit like we've been talking about so far.
Yeah, I mean, Black Panther, I mean, you saw it?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went straight to the theater when that shit came out, yeah.
TK Kirkland, you know, was just on my show yesterday, and he was saying how there was so much excitement over Africa for the first time since the 80s with Coming to America by Eddie Murphy. That was the last time you really saw a bunch of like African pride and you know, people really celebrating Africa.
It was truly a movement. I had never seen people talk about doing something like that, believe it or not, probably since 1984, 85, when Coming to America was coming out, the original one with Eddie Murphy.
Right, because it brought such a focus on Africa.
Yes, yes.
In a positive sense.
In a
not
positive
like,
sense.
You know, in an advanced Africa, in a prosperous Africa.
Yeah.
You know, and like
I would agree, yeah. I would agree. Because back in the 80s, we used to walk around with the medallions, like, you know, yeah. Like, everybody did. The shirts, medallions, the hats. Because they even showed a little bit of it in Spike Lee's movie. What was that one movie? Like with Radio Raheem, yeah. So that was kind of we was riding on that high from back then, yeah. That's very true.
You know, one of the things that Akon talked about in our interview was that how all the Americans he knows that moved to Africa and started businesses, they all became successful. You know, I interviewed this rapper named Sobriety. He was the biggest rapper in Ghana.
Okay.
And you know, on the west coast of Africa. and they had something called the Year of Return last year.
Yeah, I saw that. All these American families, yep.
Americans, people from, the UK, like Idris Elba, his mom comes from Ghana, he was over there, and so forth. It was this whole Year of Return where they basically wanted Black people from around the world to come back to Africa and really see the beauty.
I'm even considering that, yeah.
And, me and Jamel Hill, we had this long conversation about how, you look at my situation, right? I'm a Russian Jew. At one point, my family just said, we've had enough of this treatment in Russia. Like we're getting tired of not getting into schools, not getting into jobs, getting spit on, getting bullied and so forth. We're going to take our whole family. We're going to go to a place where, we're not going to be oppressed. Right. We all moved to America. But you rarely see Black Americans say, we're getting tired of this police treatment. We're getting tired of this racism. We're going to go to Africa.
Yeah, because, Black people haven't really made that reconnection back with the mother, with the motherland, like we should have. Like some people did, like certain ex-Black Panthers and stuff, like moved back. But I think that the story that's been fed to us for all our lives is like Africa is still the jungle of some sort. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it makes, it just paints an ugly picture in people's head to where they don't even want to think about going back to a place like that. Little do they know, Africa in some places is more modern than this country. You know what I'm saying? In a lot of places. But I think it's a dope thing that people actually did that, man. Like I said, I'm considering the same thing. Like, it's really dope to me. And like, how people used to always talk about too, how, we were brought here, against our will, our language, they took our language, our culture. We could have always went back and reconnected and got it again. The people would have just, thought to go there. Because it still exists there. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything we lost is still there. I mean, we can't replace the lives we lost, but the culture, the language, the reconnection can always go back. Yeah.
Have you been to Africa?
Not yet.
I have.
But I plan to go, yeah. I had a 1-year visa to go, and I just never got around to, the right time never came for me to actually go. But I have some friends in the government over there. Yeah. They actually sent me.
I mean, Napoleon from the Outlaws, when he, became a Muslim, he decided to move his entire family to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's not easy to do. It's not easy to do though. Like because you cannot get into Saudi without a visa. You can't get into Saudi unless a Saudi citizen invites you. You know what I mean? So but it's not easy to do. But yeah, that was dope that he did that. I talk to Napoleon all the time, so he definitely have a better quality of life, and his children will too in that country. Absolutely.
He has no regrets. I talked to him also. I interviewed him recently. He has, at no point did he say, man, I messed up. I should have stayed.
Oh, no. If you know Saudi,
America.
Look, Saudi is probably one of the safest places you can live, bro. Safest places with some of the best people on the planet, yeah. Definitely.
I mean, look, he had to watch his own his own parents get murdered.
Right.
He saw Tupac get murdered. He saw one of the other outlaws get murdered. Yaki, Gaddafi, as well as all the violence coming up in the streets of Jersey, the drug dealing, the fights, the shootings, everything else like that. He went to a place with his kids where he knows his kids will never get to see any of that.
Absolutely.
It's completely off the table.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just not gonna happen. No matter what.
Yeah, they don't play that shit. So they don't.
Nah.
They'll kill your, look, they'll cut your head off in front of the whole city, look, just to show you.
Right.
We not having shit over here. Yeah.
Well, and think about it, right? And this is something I mentioned times before. Like, I had a real close friend of mine, who was a Crip, his whole life, who never drinks, never smokes. He told me flat out the reason why he stopped doing that is because all of his friends that he saw getting killed were always high on something. at the time of their murder.
That plays a big role into things too, Vlad.
Every time, like 100% of the time. And you look at Saudi Arabia, you can't drink.
No.
You
gotta
can't,
be
you can't
super
smoke,
discreet.
You can't
if you
smoke
do any of that.
weed.
Yeah.
You definitely, they catch you some cocaine. It's a wrap.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
Yeah, but even alcohol is a serious thing. You cannot you cannot drink anything in Saudi Arabia. People go to Bahrain, where I've DJ'd before. They go there on the weekends to just get drunk and wild out. But once you go back over the border, it's a wrap. Yeah. So you basically have a sober country.
Yeah, and it makes for better living, right? It makes for better people, yeah, definitely. Which is awesome. That's an awesome thing because you don't need that shit. Like, you don't need those substances, man, to have, to live. Like over here, I think with people, they feel like, you're going through some type of depression, some type of bad circumstance, and people use those things as a crutch. And they actually think that it's helping, but it is not. It's just making it worse, Because once the high is gone, the reality is still there. So yeah, you don't need that shit.
I agree. Well, BG Knocc Out, always a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Oh, always an honor. Glad you're doing well. Glad you're healthy in a crazy time like this.
You too, Vlad, man. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
No doubt, man. Until next time.
For sure.
Peace.
Peace.